In today's video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step walkthrough on how I would start and scale a reselling business to 10k a month in less than a year. It doesn't matter what level you're at, if you're a complete beginner with no money, or whether or not you've been reselling for a couple of years, you do 2 to 3k a month and you want to take it to that next level. This is essentially going to be a fundamental strategy session, as if me and you were working together one-on-one to build and scale your reselling business. So I want you to take this serious, as if you were on a call with me, you've booked a call with me, and you want to learn how to either start your reselling business or you want to learn how to scale your reselling business. Take some notes, maybe watch the video a few times, because I promise you, what we're going to cover in this video are the fundamental principles that I have implemented in my own reselling business to be able to scale to consistent 10k months. But before we start and get into the video, I want to give you a little bit of information about me. You're probably asking, if you don't know who I am, you're probably asking, who are you? Well, why do you think you can scale my reselling business? Why should I listen to you? All of these little things are probably popping up. So let me give you a little bit of information so we can clear that up. So my name is Jacob. I'm 23. I've been in the reselling industry for about 6 years now. I started back when I was 17, 17, started reselling just from my bedroom. It was a side hustle, just part-time for a little bit of extra money for about 5 years. And it's only been in the last year that I decided to go full-time. I decided to treat it like a proper business. And within 3 months of deciding to go all in, deciding to scale the business properly, I was able to go from making 2k a month to 11,300 in 2 months. It took me 2 months to do this. I didn't get there by chance. It wasn't luck. I didn't stumble upon £11,000 in 2 months. No, I planned it all out. I put the systems and processes in place. I knew what I needed to do, and it was simply a matter of execution. And this is essentially what we're going to cover and go over in this video. And since scaling to 11k, this was all in my bedroom. I have since moved into a warehouse. I've made over 4,000 sales. I've done £50,000 this year reselling alone. I've sold over £75,000 on Vinted. I've scaled my business to consistent 10k months. I've tested multiple suppliers across the UK. I've spent thousands on deliveries. And I'm here to share everything that I've learned with you today. Now, all these numbers and figures and things that I've done, they're not to brag, they're not to show off and be like, look how rich I am, look how well that I've done. By no means, that's not the reason for them. It's to give myself a little bit of authority, to build a little bit of trust with you so that you know that I am coming from a place where I have the knowledge and the information to be able to share something with you and teach you something that you might not know. So by this point, I'm sure you want to get into the video, you want to get into the fundamental principles, but I want to touch on reselling just a little bit, the business model that reselling is, which I think is a great business model, especially for first time or people that don't want to learn a high value skill or have to do research for months and months and months. No, reselling is very results driven. It's inputs equal outputs. It's super low barrier to entry. There's not any high value skills needed, like I said. You see results quickly. It has a low startup cost. You can start with as little as £100. Even no money, you can start with no money, although it is preferable to have some sort of initial investment. And like I said, you see results quickly and you start making money quickly. That's not me saying that it's a get rich quick scheme. It's not. It does require hard work, and it takes time to start seeing consistent money and consistent profits in volume, but you can make money and you can make your first sale very, very quickly. So now it is time to finally get into the main part of the video, the principles that are going to help you start and scale your reselling business to 10k a month. There's essentially 3 main principles, you could call them, that are needed in order to be able to scale to 10k a month. These 3 principles have to be in place and they need to be done extremely well in order for you to scale. If one of them isn't up to standard compared to the rest, it does not matter. It all comes crumbling down. They all need to be in place, and they all need to be in place well. And these 3 principles are suppliers, systems and processes, and storage. So without further ado, let us get into the first principle of suppliers. Principle 1, suppliers. Now, As a beginner, you automatically assume that suppliers are the only thing that matters. And it's a fair assumption to have. You've never had your hands on any stock, you've not made any money yet. So you assume that, well, if I have a good supplier and I get cheap clothes and it's good quality, then surely I'm just going to make money. The money's just going to start flowing in. And it does to a certain extent, but we're thinking about scaling to 10k a month. We want to make serious money. We want to turn this into an actual business, not just an extra 1,000 or 2,000 a month. No, we want to scale all the way to 10k, 5 figures a month, 6-figure years. And you quickly realize once you do have a supplier and you have consistent stock that the hardest thing isn't a supplier. It's not principle one. That's not the most important thing. It's actually principle two, systems and processes, which we will get onto eventually. So if you are somebody that's already making 1, 2k, 3k a month reselling, you've got a supplier, you can get the stock, then the supplier part is probably not going to be that important for you. Where you're going to get the most knowledge and value from in this video is systems and processes, or principle 3, storage. Maybe that's your issue, but essentially systems and processes is the thing that's going to allow you to go from 2, 3k, 4k. You probably get capped at around 5k just with a good supplier. But if you want to go from below 5k to 10k, it's the systems and processes that are going to allow you to do that. So let's get into principle 1, suppliers. Now, another beginner assumption is that suppliers automatically means wholesale, and that is not the case, especially when you have very, very little money, no money, or 50 to 100 pound. That's essentially not enough to invest in wholesale yet, not at all. And wholesale is also risky, which means you have to be willing to lose the money that you invest. I mean, it's not as risky because you are getting a physical product, and typically worst case scenario is you'll make your money back off the close. But we don't want to make our money back, we want to make profit. So getting into 3 separate categories essentially. So no money. If you have no money, you are a complete beginner, you were just like me, complete beginner, no money. The first thing that I would recommend you do is sell your own clothes. That's it. If you do not wear anything in your wardrobe anymore, clear it out, sell it, okay? Now, not only will this make you a little bit extra cash, it will teach you the basics. How to photograph, how to take photos, how to list, okay? And how to make your first sale. You know, how do you send an item? Just how it works, how the system and the process of selling something works. You photograph, you list it to the platform, and you make your first sale. Now, this is great, okay? You sell your own clothes, there's no risk, you're figuring it out, you're learning as you go. And then after you sell all your own clothes, I would be asking everyone you know to sell their clothes, okay? Friends, families, anybody, just ask them, can I sell your old clothes? You might have to split profits with them, you might have to give them a percentage of whatever you make, but typically people just want things gone. And if you're going to do that for them, they're not going to say no, especially your family. Just get anything you can get your hands on, just sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it. This is exactly what I did. And it teaches you the fundamentals, like I said, how to photograph, how to list, and how to make your first sale. Because there would be nothing worse than investing your money and not even understanding the basics yet, or investing your money and realizing that you hate taking photographs, you hate listing, you just hate the process, you hate the business model, so you don't want to do it, okay? So sell your own clothes, learn how to photograph, learn the basics, ask everyone you know, and you will save up a little bit of cash. Don't go and spend this cash, save it, because this is what we're going to use to invest, okay? Now, 50 to 100 pound from selling your own money, selling your own clothes, you should have saved up anywhere from 50 to 100 pound. 50 to 100 pound, this is still not quite enough for wholesale. We're not quite at wholesale level yet. So my next recommendation, or not even a recommendation, this is what I would do. If I was starting from zero tomorrow, I would have sold all my own clothes, and now this would be the next step once I've saved up a little bit of capital. Every weekend, I would be going to charity shops and car boots. Now, you might be thinking, charity shops, car boots, like I'm so above that. I'm telling you, if you want to make money in this business, you don't have money. You shouldn't be complaining about where you're getting your stock from. Charity shops and car boots can make you so much money. You can make an extra 1,000 a month just from charity shops and car boots. Now, I will admit, charity shops are not quite what they used to be. okay? A little bit expensive, but you can still find good deals from these, okay? But the next most important thing is car boots. Now, a simple Google search for car boots near me will bring up any car boots that you have near you, right? You might not have any near you. I've not got many close to me. It is what it is, but they are worth traveling to, they're worth going to, and this is what I would be doing every weekend. I would travel hours just to go to car boots. You can make so much money from here, and I'll give you some examples of some of my best finds from back in the day. A 50p Stone Island crew neck sold for about £60. A pair of Nike Shox tracksuit bottoms, if you know Nike Shox is very, very popular. They cost me about £3, £4. I sold them for £70. Let me think what else. A pair of this is a recent one from this year that I actually went to a car boot sale this year. A pair of Carhartt dungarees, a black pair, brand new, essentially brand new. They cost me £5. I sold them for £50 about 3 days later. So look at that. It's low risk. That's the thing about car boots and charity shops. Low risk, low cost. Okay? If you buy something for £3, it doesn't sell, you can sell it for £3. You'll make your money back. And the margins are so high. You buy stuff, like I said, £5 for a pair of Carhartt dungarees, £50 3 days later. Those profit margins are insane. You really don't get those from wholesale, honestly. So that would be my next stop. Every weekend, charity shops and car boots. Google search for the car boots near you. It's low risk, it's low cost, and what it also does, it teaches you knowledge. You start to understand what sells, how well it sells, how fast it sells. You get an idea for brands, what brands are good. Basically, what you're going to buy when you finally move into wholesale. That's what we're doing. We're learning, we're researching, and you start to develop your pattern recognition quite quickly. You start to see things. You might not even know the brand. You might not have ever bought this sort of item, but you can just tell. You just start to get an eye for what sells and for sort of what sort of price. It's hard to explain, but it comes with time. It's pattern recognition, and you develop it very, very, very quickly. Now, we've done the car boots, we've done the charity shops, we've got a bit of an understanding of what sells, how well it sells, and we're finally saved up a bit of money. So from charity shops and car boots, you should have saved up about £300 to £500. Now, this might take you anywhere from 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. It depends how much knowledge you already have, how often you're going, how consistently you're going, but you can easily save £300 to £500 and make £300 to £500 in about a month, okay? So you now have a bit of money saved up, £300 to £500, and this is now enough for wholesale. You can get your first bale with this sort of money. Now, the first thing that I would be doing when it comes to wholesale is trying to just understand the market. Wholesale is a completely different game. So the first thing that I would be doing is researching and understanding different wholesale suppliers. And the way you can do this, if you haven't already got my free supplier list that has 10 real legitimate UK wholesale companies that sell secondhand clothes in bulk, that some of which that I've used and still use to this day to make money. If you want the free supplier list, it is in the description. There is a link in the description. Sign up and it'll be sent to you as a PDF. And with that list, so with my free supplier list that I've given you, I would be researching every single one on that list, okay? I'd research them all. I'd go through their websites, social medias. I'd be looking at all the different categories that they have. What do they sell? How much do they sell it for? I'd be comparing prices. I'd be looking at reviews, just doing market research, understanding like how it works, what the majority sell, what sort of categories, all of these things, just researching and just getting a bit of knowledge, okay? Researching, comparing, understanding, looking at pricing, all of these things, okay? Now, after doing a bit of research with my knowledge from car boots and your understanding of what sells, I would be looking at categories of things that maybe sold well from the car boots, whatever made you money, and try and buy that sort of category to begin with, something that you understand. You want to use it to make a calculated decision. Okay, now it is still a risk, but it's now a calculated risk because you have an understanding of the market. You've researched the suppliers, you have a knowledge from car boots, you know what sells, and now you're making a calculated decision. It's no longer just a blind buy, a complete risk. No, you know what sells. You've sold anywhere from 20 to 50 things already, and now you're taking that knowledge and you're transferring it to wholesale. Now, here is some advice for buying wholesale, okay? You want to, advice for buying wholesale in terms of what categories to buy. So you've got your knowledge from the car boot sales, but advice from buying wholesale. You want to be careful of the grade that you're buying. Suppliers will list things as A, B, and C. As a beginner, you want to stay with grade A. Just because something is super cheap and the price looks so good, typically it means it's too good to be true and you're going to be sent shit. Okay, so you want to stay with grade A. Now, when it comes to categories, my two biggest pieces of advice when it comes to categories are think seasonal and think popular. Okay, as a beginner, seasonal and popular. Especially now that it's coming into winter, you want to start thinking about fleeces, jackets, knitwear, things that people are looking for when it starts to get colder. Because it doesn't matter, it really doesn't even matter on the brand or what it is. People are looking for this item as a whole. So someone's going to search fleece or jacket. They're not even necessarily looking for a specific brand. They just want a fleece, they just want a jacket, they just want a bit of knitwear because it's that season. Okay, so first, think seasonal, and two, think popular. As a beginner, you want to buy items that have demand, that are going to sell quickly. Okay, there is nothing worse than buying something that there's no demand, it's super slow at moving, it doesn't sell, you don't create any momentum, and honestly that will just put you off from continuing the business. Now, that doesn't mean if you are already reselling, you make a couple extra thousand, that doesn't mean that non-branded or brands that aren't popular don't sell. No, they do. But as a beginner, you do not want to be taking any risks that might not pay off. Okay, you want to play it safe. Now, that might mean your profit margins are a little bit slimmer to begin with. You know, you might have to pay a little bit of a premium for seasonal items and popular items, but it means that they'll sell quickly and that there's already built-in demand for them. And what this does is that allows you to stack cash very, very quickly, especially from your first delivery. You want to get through it as quickly as possible. You want to make your money back as quickly as possible. And buying things that are popular and sell fast allow you to get your money back as quick as possible. The profit margins may be slimmer, but it builds momentum and it keeps you moving forward so you can make your next delivery as quick as possible. Now, honestly, your first delivery, it might not be great. Mine wasn't, but that's just part of the game. What I want you to do, if your first delivery is not good, do not be put off. Don't think reselling is a scam, because it's not. I'm proof that it's not. Don't think that it's a scam. If you get a delivery, it's rubbish, you're shitting yourself, you've spent all this money, what I want you to do, use that motivation, use that anger, use it as motivation, use it as fuel to get through the delivery as quick as possible. Even just making a couple pound on every item, just try and sell it as quickly as possible. Get your money back as quickly as possible. I've been there, it happens. You may need to test a few suppliers before you finally find the one. But I promise you, once you find that supplier, that's when it all starts rolling. That's when you can start making serious money and consistent money. You find the supplier and then you just start doubling down. You double down on the category that you bought. You buy more of it. You scale. You test other categories. And typically if the supplier is good, the other categories are going to be good. That's when you can start taking other risks on other categories and other items, and you can afford to test different things. Okay? Find the supplier and scale from there. So remember, if you have no money and you're starting from scratch, you sell your own clothes. Anything you can get your hands on, friends and families, save up a little bit of cash and learn the basics. Then from that, £50 to £100. You've now saved up a little bit of money. Now we're going to be going to charity shops and car boot sales every single weekend. This is low risk, low cost, and this lets us build up more money, and it also teaches us the knowledge and pattern recognition to figure out what sells, so we can eventually make a calculated decision when it comes to buying wholesale. Then, after that, we've saved up £300 to £500, we move into wholesale. Now, from the knowledge that you know, from the research and the free supplier list that I've given you, you're going to make a calculated decision. You're going to take a calculated risk on a category which you think will sell well. And based on the pieces of advice that I've given you, think seasonal, think popular. Built-in demand based on the season and the brand, okay? You might need to test a few suppliers, but once you find the one, you double down and you scale with them. So that has been principle 1, suppliers. If you're a beginner, you think this is the most important principle, but what you'll soon learn is, once you do have a supplier and you've got past that initial hurdle, that this next principle, systems and processes, is the actual thing that's going to determine whether or not you can make 10k a month. So if you're a reseller who's already making a couple thousand a month, then I want you to listen closely to this next section, because this is going to be the determining factor on basically how much money you can make. Systems and processes are essentially your cap on your profit, on your revenue, how much money you can make. If your systems and processes are shit, they're down here, this is your cap. If they're efficient, absolutely maximized for your situation and your context, then it raises massively. So let's move into principle 2, systems and processes. So moving on to principle 2, systems and processes. And the reason that this principle is the most important in scaling to 10k a month is that it's our systems and processes that allow us to handle the volume that is required to make 10k in a single month. You see, the thing with reselling, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a double-edged sword, is that your inputs equal your outputs. You only make money if you upload an item. So therefore, in theory, there is a limited amount of money that you can potentially make in one day. So in order to make up the volume that is required to be hitting 10k every single month, you need systems and processes. Having good systems and processes and them being efficient is what allows us to handle the volume that is required. You're going to need to be uploading at least 30 items every single day. Anywhere up to 60 items a day is what I've been doing for the past few months. And in order to be able to do that, if you've ever tried to do that, you'll understand that takes a lot of time, and therefore we need efficient systems and processes to allow us to do this. And they can be broken down into 4 things: washing, ironing, photographing, and listing. And we'll cover each thing, and each thing is just as important as the other, because if one of them isn't up to standard, then the rest come crumbling down. They're all interconnected. So your delivery arrives. What now? What do we do? So the thing with wholesale is that when you buy wholesale, the way wholesale works is that the majority of clothes have been imported. They've been sitting in a warehouse a long, long time. What happens is that they typically start in the US, like charity, Goodwill, all of this stuff. And what the US does is that they'll import it to countries like Pakistan and countries in Asia for very, very, very cheap. It's good for their economy. We're not going to go into the details there. But what happens is it'll get imported to Pakistan, typically Pakistan, and there will then be rag houses in Pakistan which will separate it into different categories, different items of clothing, and then wholesale companies in the United Kingdom will then buy from these rag houses in Pakistan, get it sent over in bales, and then they'll then break it down into different categories and market it and sell it to us, okay? And this means that it's vacuum sealed in bales, it's creased, it smells, there might be stains, and so it's our job to make it presentable so that we can then sell it to the customers so we can make money. So the first thing that you have to do when you get a delivery is wash it. Now, this is fine if you're just starting out. You can use your washing machine in your house and you process the items that way. But as you start to scale, you're not going to be able to handle 30 items, 60 items a day in your washing machine, unless you want your electricity bill to be extremely high and you want the washing machine to be on all day. It's not possible. So we need to outsource this. A few ways to do this. We can outsource this to a laundry service. So like we outsource it to another company that does all the washing for you. This is a little bit expensive. This can add about £1 to £1.59. We don't really want to be doing that. So we want to outsource it to like a laundrette or an industrial washing machine. Industrial. And you can find these simple like laundrette service. You know the big industrial washing machines that you see by like shops or petrol stations, and they hold about 15 to about 25 kg depending on that. And that is around 25 to about 35 items per wash. Now, this is great. These cost anywhere from about £10 to £15. So it adds maybe about 60p, 70p to every item. And what this allows you to do is essentially just wash loads at one time. And this is what I use. I use an industrial washing machine. I've got one very close to me. Drop it off in the morning, come back an hour later, and I've got 25, 35 items washed. Do you know what I mean? And we just add this to the cost of our item. So if you paid £4.50 from your wholesaler, you just add your washing cost on top of the item. And this is essential long term. If you want to scale to 10k a month and you want to be able to handle the volume that is required, you need to be using an industrial washing machine. It is worth the price, and you will eventually get to a certain level where you can no longer just do the washing in your house and you need to outsource it. And this is the best and cheapest way to do it. When it comes to washing, because this is the first step in the process, we wash, then we iron, then we do our listing process, okay? You want to be working at least 2 days ahead, which means that anything you wash today will get ironed tomorrow and then photographed the day after. This gives you plenty of leeway. There's no way that you can wash, dry, iron, and then upload the same things every single day. So anything that gets washed today, that's your ironing for tomorrow. And then after that day, it's your photographing for the next day. You work on a 2 day ahead schedule, okay? Now we move on to ironing, the next step in the process. So your items are washed, but now they are creased. Holy shit, my spelling. Now they're creased. So it's our job to iron them. Do not upload items that are creased. They won't sell. You have to iron. As much as you don't want to do this, iron items. You know, put a movie on. Listen to some music, or even better, listen to a podcast. Get some value. Learn something as you're ironing. Kill two birds with one stone. Okay. Listen to this video. Watch this video as you do your ironing. Okay. Learn as you iron. Now, this is good if you're handling less volume, but eventually, like the washing, we're going to have to outsource the ironing. Now, a few ways to do this. So you can either completely outsource your washing to a laundry service, like I said, and then do all your own ironing, or you can outsource to the industrial washing machine and then have someone do your ironing. Find someone to do your ironing, essentially, is what I'm saying. Pay them £1 per item, add it to the item cost, and just accept that this is what you have to do in order to scale to that next level. It will get to a certain point, you'll reach a certain ceiling where you can no longer wash, you can no longer iron any more items in a single day. You don't have the time in the day to do any more. And I got to this stage, and then you just figure out, how do you scale further? How do you do more items in a day? And the way you do that is by outsourcing. So outsource your item. You can, a friend, a family member, literally anybody. You could find somebody and post it as an advert of like £1 per item, do my ironing for the day. As simple as that. Little things like that. Find the solution and outsource your ironing. Okay? Now moving on to photographing. This is the most important thing. Okay? In order to make sales, your photographs are the most important thing. This is the determiner on whether or not you'll make a sale. You might have a great price, you might have a great description and title, but the item may be great. But if the photographs do not reflect that, if the photographs are not good, you are going to be severely capped in how many sales you make. So important that I'm going to, in capitals, most important. Okay? Please, 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 do not, I cannot overstate the importance of this step, okay? Photographs have to be perfect, okay? And there's a few reasons for that, so let's get into it. Our photographs are what allow us to stand out. The beautiful thing about reselling and the platforms that we sell on are that the majority of items that we're competing against, the majority of sellers on these platforms are normal people. They're going to have rubbish photos, rubbish descriptions. So this is where we can stand out, make more sales, and also charge a premium for the items we are selling. So there's a few ways to photograph, and you've probably seen them, but my biggest recommendation is flat. As you can see with these photos here, 2 flat lays. Easy. It's easy to do, it's fast to do, and this is what we're going for. It's efficiency, it's process. How fast, how many things can you do in a day, and flat lays are the best to do this. You're going to want to use a neutral background, just a plain background, no distractions. The item is the focus, and we want to make sure that that's what the buyer sees. So as you can see in these photos here, I have a white backdrop. So just type into Amazon, white backdrop, PVC. So type in PVC white backdrop and something, and it will come up essentially what I use here in these photos. And you're going to want like bright lighting. Either natural light from a window or whatever it may be, but if you're taking it to that professional level and you're scaling to 10K a month, then you need professional lighting. So a softbox setup, which is what I have. Again, Amazon, softbox lighting. You're going to get 2 softbox lights for anywhere from £50 to £70. It's a little expensive. Not really. It's not really that expensive. You'll make that back on 4 or 5 sales. And the return on investment that's the biggest return on investment you can get. That softbox lighting and having your photos taken to that next level, improving the standard, making them look professional so that we can stand out from everybody else is what's going to increase your conversions, and it's going to make you more sales. This is essential. Now, your photos are not going to look like this straight away. It does take time to get your photos good. Don't be put off. It's about putting the reps in. It's about practicing. My photos were rubbish to begin with. It took me years and years and years to get photos of this level. And even this level could be so much better. The lighting could be so much better, okay? And it takes time. So the more photos you take, the better you'll get, and you'll start to get an eye for it. But the most important thing, flat lays, plain neutral backdrop, and bright lighting, okay? And when you have your photos perfect, when they're good, when they're upgraded, when they're professional, you will see a noticeable difference in how much you sell. I promise you, this was the biggest game changer for me. So now we move on to listing and uploading to platforms. So at this point, we've washed all our delivery, we've ironed everything, and we've taken our photos. And now it's time to upload to our platforms. And listings and uploads can basically be broken down into 2 separate subcategories. The first being the process in which we list how we upload to platforms, through your phone or through a laptop, all those different processes. And then we can also break it down into what you include in your descriptions, because that's part of the listing process. So we'll start with process. So we'll start with process and the way in which you list. And I've tested many different processes and tried to figure out the fastest one, because this is what this is all about. If you've not realized already, it's efficiency. It's being able to do each step in the systems and processes as quickly as possible so that we can upload as many items in a day as possible so that we can then hit 10K. That's what it's all for. It's all efficiency. So I'll separate this into 2 levels. For the majority of you will probably be doing more than 10 a day. if you're in that 1, 2, 3K a month range. If not, if you're a beginner, you're doing less than 10 a day. So we'll start with less than 10 a day. So for everybody, I want you to batch your photographs. You should be taking your photographs in one go. Don't take a photograph and then upload, take a photograph, then upload. No, do all your photographs in one sitting. That's the quickest way, it's the most efficient way. So if you're doing less than 10 a day, you've taken less than 10 photographs a day, what I want you to do is upload all your items through your phone. So you upload your items through your phone. So what you do, so we'll use Vinted as an example for the platform. You get your phone out, you click a new listing, and then you put your photos in that you've taken, the first item, and then you type the title, you type the description, you fill in the categories, you fill in the price, you upload. That's what you do, one item at a time, if you do less than 10 a day. Simple as that, simple, okay? More than 10 a day is where I recommend you filling in and typing your listings on a separate document. So more than 10 a day, separate document. You can use, and what I use is a Google Doc just like this. I'll have numbers 1 to 60, and I'll do an example of this actually. So number 1, it'll be down here, and then I'll have the title and the description. Okay, so put the descriptions down. We'll move on to that later. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll be the item title. So I'll just make a quick one up. Ralph Lauren hoodie, men's medium blue jumper. Okay, so that's my title, and in my description I'll have my size, men's, medium, measurements, pictured. The measurements are in the photos. I take photos of my measurements as well, and then I'll have a little blurb just about like color, extra details, year, you know, if it's vintage, modern, whatever it is. And then I'll have the condition, so I'll state very good, whatever the condition is. I'll state any flaws as well, flaws stated. And then I'll have, if I want to include hashtags, the hashtags will go there, like Ralph Lauren. And then underneath here, which we'll move on to in a second, I'll include my SKU number, okay? So, and I'll have that, and then there'll be number 2, and it'll be essentially this exact same thing underneath. 2, 3, 4, all the way to 60, 1 to 60, or however many items you do, okay? So just like that, that is what I'll have. I'll type all my items up in a separate document, just like that. So I'll type them all up in a separate document. So photograph typed up in a separate document, and then what I will do now is on my phone I'll make drafts. So we'll go into Vinted, just like if you were doing less than 10 a day. We go into Vinted, we upload the photos into Vinted, we don't fill in the title or the description yet, but we fill in all the category details, and then we save it. You just save it as a draft, and this will become a draft. Now we'll do this for all our items that we've photographed that day, all 60 items, and then I'll put my phone to the side, and I will open Vinted on my laptop. So what I will do is I will open Vinted in a separate tab on my laptop. So imagine this document here is all my typed up listings 1 to 60. And then in a separate tab, I have Vinted open. And what I will do is I will go through each draft. I will open the draft up that I saved on my phone, and I will copy and paste just like that, and I will go to the next tab and I will paste it in to the title and the description. You see what I mean? So I'm doing all of this on my laptop. I saved the drafts on my phone, but now I am copying and pasting my listings from my document to Vinted on my laptop. Okay, so we copy and paste to Vinted on laptop. Now, what this does, and I've tested every way you can do this. This is the quickest way if you're doing 30 a day to 60 a day. This is 100% the quickest way, okay? And the thing about typing up all your listings on a document is that you can use templates. Eventually, when you continue to order and you order the same stock and you have a select few categories that you continually sell and upload, you can create templates for them. For example, I'll make a very quick template. So for selling hoodies, so X hoodie, so this would be X would be the brand, hoodie, and then we could have whatever, this would be the size, and then it's the same. You can just use these templates. And then all you have to do is copy and paste these templates into your document, fill in the details depending on what the item is, and then copy and paste into Vinted. This is so much quicker when you're using templates and typing up, okay? So less than 10 a day, just upload the items directly through your phone, type up your listings on your phone. If you're doing more than 10 a day, then I would recommend a separate document where you type all the items, one to however many items you're doing, copy and paste them to Vinted on your laptop, and use templates to save you time. Depending on your circumstance, you can test both methods. Maybe you're doing 15 a day, you don't know which one is quicker, test both methods. Try doing it directly through your phone, time yourself, and then the next day, try doing it through the copy and paste the copy and paste document way, and time yourself and figure out which one is quicker for your circumstance. Now moving on to descriptions. I covered a little bit in descriptions there, but essentially you don't need a big long description with loads of hashtags. The goal of the description is basically to be congruent with the photos. So our descriptions must be congruent with the photos. And what that means is that anything in the description must match the photos. They must match, okay? Meaning that any sizing, any flaws, any colors, any details like that, okay? So for example, if the item label in the photos, the label states medium, but you've made a mistake and you've in your description listed it as large. You've made a mistake, and the two do not match. They're not congruent. Therefore, what you're doing with that is creating resistance with the customer. You've created a pain point with your customer. Now, your customer no longer can trust you. They have resistance in buying. They're unsure, well, is it a medium or is it a large? There's two differing things and they don't know which one to believe, even though the size says medium, so they should follow that. They're not going to. It creates resistance, and this is the thing that we are trying to resolve and stop. We're trying to resolve the customer's pain points, and we do this through our photos and through our descriptions. You're essentially confirming what the customer sees. You're confirming what the customer sees, you're letting them know if there's any more details, you're stating the condition, and you're confirming. You're making sure that the two match, and that's the most important thing. The description isn't essential. It doesn't have to be long. You don't need loads of keywords and hashtags. That's something I used to implement in the past, and it was a waste of time. It needs to be to the point. So, title, reiterate the size, the condition, and any extra details needed. And if you want to use hashtags, you can use one or two key hashtags, just like this: title, size, condition, extra details, hashtag. That's all you need to include in your description, okay? Ultimately, it is our job to fix the pain points of the customers, and we can talk a little bit about pain points. And you've probably experienced these pain points yourself when you're shopping secondhand. You know, you're scrolling, you're trying to find an item that you want, you see an item that you want, it's the item you're looking for, and you go into it, you click the listing, and the photos are rubbish. They're barely lit. There's like 2 or 3 photos maximum. There's no description which tells you the size, and therefore you have this resistance in buying. It's the item you want. You've been searching this for ages, but you don't know the condition. You don't know what the condition's like. You don't know if there's any flaws. You don't know. You essentially don't know. You can't trust that you're going to get the item that you see. And that is where we come in and fix those pain points. And we do that by, remember, the photographs, good photographs, and by our descriptions being congruent and matching with the photographs. So, our ultimate goal is to remove any resistance that the customer has from buying. Solve all the pain points, and then you then turn hesitant browsers into confident buyers. There's nothing stopping them from buying anymore. Therefore, if the item is what they've been looking for, the photos are perfect, the description matches the photos, there's no resistance, there's no pain points, there's nothing stopping them from buying. And therefore, you're going to sell more. You're going to have more conversions. And like I've said, The best thing about reselling is the majority of people that we're competing against on platforms like Vinted and Depop is normal people selling their old clothes like we did when we started out. Normal people selling their old clothes, rubbish photos, rubbish descriptions, loads of resistance, loads of pain points. And that is how we can stand out and make more sales. We come in with good photos. Instantly your photos stand out. You're going to be getting more clicks and more views on your items. And then when we have a description that's congruent with the photos, they match the photos, it lists all the details and any extra and any flaws that the item may have. We solve the pain points, we sell more, and we can actually charge a premium for our items. If there's one item at £10, rubbish photos, poorly lit, no description, and then there's our item at £15, perfect photos, perfect description, what item is the buyer more likely to buy? It's our item every single time, and they're not paying £5 more because they think the item's worth £5 more. They're paying £5 more because they trust that they're going to get. They're paying £5 more for the guarantee of getting what they can see and what they want. And that is why your photos and descriptions are so important. The most important thing when it comes to making sales. So remember, our systems and processes are what allow us to get to the volume that is required to make 10K a month. These are the most important things. If you're making 1K, 2K, 3K at the moment, this is where you're going to need to improve, I promise you. Remember, washing. In order to be able to process 30, 60 items a day, we're going to have to outsource to some sort of industrial washing machine, a laundrette that can handle 25 to 35 items per wash. We do not want to be putting on constant loads in your washing machine in the house, okay? It's going to cost you £10 to £15. Spread it over the item cost, and it is essential to implement this long term if you want to scale. Now we move on to ironing. It's the same as the washing. It's essential. We have to iron. Okay, now if you're still in the beginning stages, like I said, put a movie on, listen to some music, just get your head down, listen to a podcast, watch this video, learn, kill two birds with one stone, okay? And then eventually you're going to have to outsource your ironing. Find someone willing to do it. Put a Facebook ad up, like a Gumtree ad up. Like, it can be somebody you know, somebody local. People want to get paid. It's £1 per item. It's easy. People iron their own clothes. Why would they not iron yours for £1? Okay, add it to the item cost. It's another essential element when you scale. Now, like we just talked about, photographs. Flat lays, easiest and fastest, most efficient. White backdrop or neutral, it can be any color, grey, white. I wouldn't go any other colours apart from grey or white, to be honest. Bright lighting, natural light from the window if you can't afford a softbox setup, but if you're at the level that you want to take it to 10K, you need a professional softbox setup so you can get photos looking like this. It just levels you up, and this is where you're going to see the most increase in sales. And then listing, the process, make it efficient as possible. Less than 10, upload to your phone. More than 10, separate document like this, and then copy and paste them to Vinted on your laptop. And use templates. Descriptions must be congruent with photos. They must match. Sizing, flaws, colors, any details, confirming what the customer sees. Don't overthink this part. Don't spend all day on this. Very quickly, have a brief template for each description, copy and paste in depending on the item. And now we move into the final principle. You've got your delivery, you've got a supplier, you've processed it all, you've uploaded. What do you do after you upload the item? Okay, so we've completed all the other steps in the process, and you've uploaded your items, and now what do you do it? How do you store the items? And if you're a beginner, you might be thinking, 30 items, that's easy. You can just put them in a pile on the floor. And trust me, I've been there. But when you start getting to the scale of where you're processing 30 to 60 items every single day, upwards of 300 items a week, it starts to pile up, and it piles up quickly. And like we've talked about this whole video, it's all about efficiency, about doing things as quickly as possible, saving yourself as much time as possible so that you can scale to 10K. And you do not want to be spending hours and hours searching through boxes and trying to remember where you put an item and when you uploaded it to find where it is, because I've been there. I'm speaking from experience there. And this is the one thing that I regret not doing sooner. It's having a proper storage system in place. So very important to implement this from the beginning, save yourself the headache in the future. And the best storage system that I've now found, which optimizes space because that's a big thing, especially if you want to stay in your house. You want to optimize space. This is the best storage system. It's a SKU system with mailing bags. And I'll make it simple. I've put the bullet points here. So you upload an item to Vinted, Depop, whatever platform, and in the description, you give it a SKU number. So number 1, it would be 0001. And the reason we have 3 zeros is because we're going up to 1,000. You're scaling, you're going to be going up to 1,000, and it just makes life easier as opposed to having 1, 2, 3, and then up to 10 and up to 100. It's 0001. That's the first number. Okay, so you give it a SKU number. You assign the item a SKU number. So in the description, at the bottom, underneath the hashtags, you just type in, like this, you type SKU-0001. Okay? With the item, you then fold the item and you put it inside a mailing bag, just a grey shipping bag with the seal, and you fold it, okay? But don't seal the bag. You just put it inside the mailing bag. Don't seal it, okay? Just in case we ever need to get it out, we ever need to rephotograph it, or need an extra detail about that, whatever it may be, okay? Don't seal it. And then on the front of the mailing bag, you're going to stick the corresponding SKU number on it, okay? Like we did, SKU 0001, you put the item inside the bag, and then on the front of the bag, you're going to get a sticker. You're either going to write 0001, or you can buy these stickers that go from 0001 to 1,000 off of Amazon. I think it's like £10 for a roll, okay? And you just stick the sticker on the front of the bag, the item's inside, okay? You then put it in a box with 10 other items with their SKU numbers. And now you know that everything inside that box contains SKU 0001 to 0010, okay? So that means that on the outside of that box, or however you want to store it, you just can write SKUs 0001 to 0010, okay? 1 to 10. And then when an item sells, you check the description, you see the SKU number, and then you find the corresponding bag. So let's say it was 0007 that sold. We then know on this box it's 001 to 0010. You then look through the box, you get the bag out, take the bag, you've got your item. As simple as that. It is so simple and it is so easy. And please implement this sort of storage system from the beginning. If you have a bigger space, and I implement the mailing bag system, and I also implement just a rail system. So it's the exact same thing as this. Exact same thing, except instead of a mailing bag, it's on a coat hanger on a rail, and the coat hanger has the SKU sticker on it. Okay? Same system, but just with coat hangers and rails. But long term, and if you want to maximize space, the mailing bags take up as little space as possible. But long term, if you want to maximize space, the mailing bag system is the best for storage. Now going on to the actual storage space, where you're going to put these boxes and the bags. So as you scale, you'll start to realize that you run out of space. I ran out of space, and then you need to make a decision on whether or not you move into some sort of storage unit, a shipping container, or a warehouse like I did. Now, don't do this preemptively. You want to make sure that you have absolutely maximized the space in your house. I'm talking as many rooms as possible, attic, garage, shed, maximize it all. I've been there, I've done that. It was the attic, it was the garage, it was my room, it was anything, anywhere I could store my stuff, especially when I was doing it out my bedroom in my parents' house. My mum was very lenient with it, and I appreciate that from her, but there was still a limit to it. I couldn't just take up the whole house, okay? But what I'm trying to say is maximize the space you have right now before you start spending money on a storage unit. So maximize your own space. Then you need to make a decision on whether or not it's time to upgrade. So a few options you have are storage units, like the ones you see, like the big yellow companies, whatever they're called, and like a lockup, something small like that. Can cost anywhere from, depending on the size, I want to say around £150 to £300 for something like that. Or you can get a shipping container. So storage unit / shipping container. And you need to, before you make a decision on this, you need to know the price. How much is it going to cost you to move in? And is this viable? So, meaning, moving into the space, are you going to be able to make more money because you have got more space? It has to be worth it. There's no point moving into a space and only being able to make an extra little bit of money that covers the rent for the space. There would have been no point moving in. You should have just stayed in your house. It has to be viable. It has to make you more money. Do you know what I mean? You have to move into it and be able to upload and process and sell more items in order to, one, cover the rent and also make more profit on top of that. And this is very, very important. And I went through a sort of similar situation. I jumped from 2,000 one month to 11,000 the next month to then 10,000 a month after that. And that's when I moved into my warehouse. I knew I was at the capacity and I knew I could continue this, and I could no longer operate out of the house at the 10k a month level and the volume that is required for that level. So I had to go straight to a warehouse. The goals that I had were so big that I needed a warehouse from the get-go. I do not recommend this. I don't recommend this at all. I recommend you move up in stages. That was a big risk on my part, and I said to myself that even if this doesn't work out, it's a good story to tell. And I also had enough money saved up to cover my entire lease when I moved in. Therefore, at no point would I ever run out of money and not be able to pay my rent each month. I was able to pay. I had enough money saved up to pay my entire lease for the whole year before even moving in. Okay? And a little rule of thumb that I like to follow is that however much your rent costs, whatever the price of the rent is, you should be able to make that back from your sales in at maximum, I would say 5 days. For me, it's about 3 days. I can cover my rent from 3 days of sales in a month, but any more than 5. If you're starting to go into a week to just be able to cover your rent, then your rent's a little bit much for how much you're making at the time being, okay? And when it comes to storage space, you also need to think about your routine, because moving into a storage space will change your routine. Right now, when you're operating out of the house, you take your photographs in the house, you ship from your house, and you store in your house. Everything's in your house. It's really, really easy. And jumping to a warehouse or a storage unit changes that. And I experienced that myself. For the first month, it was awkward. I had to get a new routine and make things efficient again. It threw me off balance. I honestly went back a little bit before I was able to scale and progress anymore. So you need to think about your routine. So when you get a shipping container, are you still going to photograph in your house? Where are you going to do the photographs? Are they going to be in the house? Are they going to be the shipping container? How does this change the lighting? How does this change your systems and processes? So you're going to store things in the shipping container. So when are you going to ship? Are you going to have to go up to the shipping container every morning, the storage unit every single morning in order to ship? How far is this from your house? How much extra time does this add onto your routine? Do you see what I'm getting at? And how this can totally change your systems and processes, and you're going to have to make your systems and processes work around your storage unit and where it is and where it's located in comparison to where you live. Okay, so these are things to consider before moving into any sort of storage space. However, like this is all about, scaling to 10k a month, starting and scaling to 10k a month, you are going to need a space. You're going to need a space, and it can be done out of a storage unit and a shipping container. It's just about maximizing it, and we maximize it by using the mailing bag SKU system. Okay, so that has been the storage system. It's a lot easier than systems and processes, but it is still essential for when you need to scale. And remember, all 3 things need to be perfect. Otherwise, everything else comes crumbling down. If you do not have the supply, systems and processes, it doesn't matter. If you don't have supply, you're not selling anything. Okay, if you don't have the systems and processes in place, you're only going to be able to upload a couple items a day, 10 items a day. You're not going to be able to get to the scale and the volume that is required to hit 10k. And if you do not have the correct storage system, you're not going to be able to buy any more items because you've not got any space to store them. You're not going to be able to ship them quick enough. It's going to slow you down. Again, stopping you from being able to scale to 10k a month. This is what I mean when every principle is just as important as the other. They're all interconnected. If one isn't working, the rest don't work, okay? So remember, 3 main principles when you're starting a reselling business, when you're scaling a reselling business to 10k a month. It's supply, systems and processes and storage, and each one is just as important as each other, like I said. Now, if you're a beginner, you obviously just assume that supply is the most important thing, and that's fair enough. You've never bought any stock before, you've never used a supplier before, and I can't blame you for thinking like that. And as a result, that's why I created the free supplier list. So like I said, if you want the supplier list, it's a list of 10 UK wholesalers. Then there's a link in the description. Enter your details and it will be sent to you as a PDF. It's completely free. Okay. However, if you have been reselling for a little bit, you're making an extra 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a month, you have a supplier, you understand that there's a lot more to this game than just supply. You need to have your systems and processes in place in order to be able to handle the volume so you can scale to 10K a month. And ultimately, getting to 10K a month, it's systems and processes. That for me has been the most difficult thing. Storage, you can make it work, you can solve it. Supplier, once you have a supplier, it's easy, but it's being able to handle and process the amount of items every single day. And we do this by mainly outsourcing, but making our routine as efficient as possible. Optimize, optimize, optimize. I'm always asking myself, how can I make this more optimal? How can I make this more efficient? How can this take less time? So if you're already reselling and you've enjoyed this one-on-one, this walkthrough, this strategy session, you could call it, and you want to scale your business, you're kind of stuck at that 1K, 2K, 3K mark, you're struggling with the systems and processes, the storage, maybe even supply a little bit, and you want to take it to that next level, you want to scale to 5K plus a month, all the way up to 10K, then I do have a few coaching spots open at the moment. And that coaching will essentially allow you to work one-on-one directly with me, essentially what we've done today in this video, but in more detail, specific to your context and your circumstances. And we will build a system, a routine, a strategy, and we will put it in place so that we can both implement it together in order to scale your business to that next level, to 5K plus, all the way to 10K a month. If you want more information about the coaching, then check out the description. There's a link in the description which will take you to a video explaining a little bit more about what's involved in the process and how you can apply. So, yes, that has been a complete step-by-step guide covering 3 fundamental principles that are essential when starting and scaling your reselling business to 10K a month.